Here we go.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Hey, we're back. Hello, everyone, and welcome to, I almost said picture this. Fuck, no. Welcome back to the View 52 Challenge. One last time, I am your host tonight, Jack Pinchuk, and with me as we conclude our journey through classic Hollywood, it's Melissa Woody. How are you doing tonight, Melissa?
I'm doing pretty well. It's a little bittersweet being our final episode, but we did it! Yay!
We actually completed a show we set out to do. Nice change of pace for this channel.
That's good.
And
what is it? 1 for 2?
1 for 2, but still nice change of pace. Also,
1 for 3. 1 for 3. I forgot about
one. I forgot about that show. Also joining us, don't watch those episodes. Also joining us as we conclude our way through pre-70s cinema, we've got Alex Martinez with us. Alex, how are you doing tonight?
Gang, I'm in a weird mood. Not gonna lie, I'm in a very strange mood. So I'm gonna do my best to entertain. We'll see where we land.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, so this is our last episode. Got to it a little late, but a little better late than never. So I'm very excited to be here. We've got 4 final challenges and a little more than 4 movies to talk about tonight. So those 4 challenges for this last episode are Week 49, a crime film, 50, a film featuring Ingrid Bergman, a film released in 1963, and the final week was a film nominated at the 42nd Academy Awards, movies released in 1969, kind of the end of classic Hollywood era before new Hollywood in the 70s and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, we've got, those are the challenges tonight, and we've got an interesting mix of films to finish us off here. So, I guess we'll just get started with a crime film. Yeah, you two have you two both picked the same movie, so I think we can kick it off there.
Okay. You want to go first, Alex?
Night of the Hunter. The Night of the Hunter. Is it the? I don't remember.
Yeah, the
Night of the Hunter is actually Charles Laughton, a Charles Laughton directed film. I think it was the only film he ever directed, and it is about a murderer. So I'm in, and the murderer basically he talks to a cellmate in prison who's got a secret stash sitting away somewhere. That man is deadified. And he goes after the widow and kids to find the treasure. That man is also responsible for several previous murders. That's why he's in jail in the first place. It's very unfortunate. And he proceeds to do this hokey traveling Southern preacher routine. And everyone's like, this guy. You gotta marry this guy. Shelley Winters. You gotta marry this guy. This guy's great. You're not married. What are you doing? And she's like... All right. Sure, if you insist. And she tries to get into it. She's like, yeah, wedding night? And he's like, what are you doing? No, sit down. And eventually he starts targeting the kids. Rabble, rabble, rabble. It's really, really actually great. It's a great movie. For me personally, what really bothered me, bothered's a strong word. The reason I connected with this film is because he uses this what is now kind of a hokey Southern preacher gimmick. But as someone that grew up singing those songs, it is very haunting to hear them used for bad. I hate that. I do genuinely hate when my childhood is used for bad. And so for me, it was like it was bad. Like I felt very like, oh, get out of there, kids. I don't usually root for the kids in movies. But
Sure.
yeah, it was really that made it really uncomfortable, which made it real. And I think a lot of people will have that experience that have that have had that kind of upbringing. Which is why I think for me it's very strange that Night of the Hunter wasn't a hit when it came out. It was like considered fine. But I think now people are like, yeah, religious trauma. Yeah, I'm in. Sure. Yeah, of course. So I guess on that level it is really weird. I will say Charles Lawton, while he has like the idea of it, the editing of this movie is kind of all over the place. It's kind of the worst part of it. Is while there are like cool shot selections, like him standing out of the window and you just see him walking around pacing, like that stuff's all really cool. But I don't know. I don't think the editing, like the structure of it, comes together as well as I would have liked. And I don't think the ending, I would have preferred a harsher ending. Which I wonder what y'all would think about it. What y'all think about this, because we know he's done all these horrible things, and we know that the punishment he's gonna get. I would have liked to have seen the punishment, if that makes sense. Considering all he puts these kids through. I really enjoyed it. I have like certain picks with it. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, no, this was probably my favorite movie of our last batch of movies. It was very like highly praised, so I was like trying to like lower my expectations because I didn't want it to get so high that I would be disappointed. But no, I feel like it lived up to kind of the hype because it felt like a lot of people really like this movie, and I see why. I did read that Charles Lawton, because this is adapted from a book, and he like described this as like a nightmarish Mother Goose story, and that's like the perfect description, I feel like. And I think that's kind of why maybe the editing and like cinematography really works for me personally, because I really see this as like through the child's eye perspective. Like it feels like this is somebody maybe like telling a story from like their childhood. So like it feels like some of it's a little like maybe not realistic, but I feel like that's kind of what happens like as you like tell stories throughout your life. I don't know, because you might like misremember things here or there, or it's like exaggerated. So like I don't know, that all really worked for me. Probably my favorite part of the film was like when the two children escape and they're like on the river. I thought a lot of the shots there were really beautiful, and like it felt very storybook like with all like the different animals along the way. It felt like you're like looking through a picture book and there's like these little animals. I don't know, that was like the vibe I got from that. But no, I thought all the performances were really great. Cinematography is beautiful. Yeah, definitely has like a nightmarish kind of fairy tale kind of vibe to it, which is like very up my alley. So I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. This movie, I got it. I think it was Payson that gave it to me to watch last year for a Secret Santa, and more of a movie exchange, but that's neither here nor there. And I really loved it. It's got some of the best cinematography I've seen from like classic Hollywood. There's some really, really fantastic shots, some really eerie cinematography. There's a shot of him riding his horse on a hill as he's whistling, and it is maybe the most chilling thing in that movie. It's terrifying. The ending did take me a little aback for a second there, but after sitting with it for a little bit, it didn't really bug me. I do wish we could have maybe seen punishment that this guy was going to get, because he was absolutely like, that he's going to get it, and it would have been more satisfying. I cannot believe that this was panned by critics and audiences when it was when it was released. That seems insane to me, and it was so bad that Charles Laughton never directed another movie, which is a real shame, because for a first time effort, this was outstanding. Robert Mitchum kills it as the preacher. Shelley Winters doesn't get enough love for this. She's not really in it a ton, but when she is, she's quite good. And there's another fantastic shot is when you see her under the water. Really haunting, really eerie. Just a masterclass in cinematography. And intention. I had a great time with this movie. Great time is a weird way to describe it. I'll rephrase. I found this movie to be incredible, and I am very glad I saw it. I have it on Criterion, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. Somewhere on that shelf, if I do. Incredible film. Very glad to have seen it, and I wish I was able to rewatch it before this, but didn't get that chance, because once again I left all the movies that I have had to see until like 2 days before. So that's a fail on my part, but we'll get into one. We'll get into one.
It's fine.
Yeah. The Killing. Maybe the least Kubrick movie I've ever seen that was directed by Stanley Kubrick. It feels more like maybe I'm off base here, but it feels more John Huston or Howard Hawks than it does Stanley Kubrick, in the sense that it's more of a crime film. You don't necessarily, or at least I don't necessarily equate that to a Kubrick film. He's usually more grand, more epic in his filmmaking, but this was very early in his career, so like I get it. I thought it was well done. This had a ton of hype around it, and I'll keep my thoughts relatively brief on it, because maybe covering it later on for a different show. This movie didn't live up to the hype on this viewing. I don't know if I just missed something, but the narration really took me out of it a lot of the time. The performances were all pretty all right. I think I'm just not the biggest Sterling Hayden fan. I think he's very good in this, but between this and The Asphalt Jungle, I don't know. I don't really get it. Although the final line of his was excellent. It was a great final line for the movie. All in all, I thought it was a very good movie, just not great. And I feel bad because I've heard it's one of a bunch of people here have it, not here specifically, but a bunch of people in this community have it as like top tier Kubrick. So it's a little confusing to me on that end, but it was fine. Not my least favorite Kubrick I've seen, but not top 3 by any stretch of the imagination.
So I attempted to watch this movie probably 5 times, and I kept falling asleep, and that's like saying something. I don't fall asleep during films very often. Yeah, and it's been a rough month, and this was before the rough month, really, and like I still couldn't really get into it. So I don't know. I kind of want to give, like, I'm kind of with you, Jack. It's like people are telling me it's so great, which, you know, it's totally fine to have a different opinion, but I'm just like, am I missing something? Like, what is happening? And why am I falling asleep? So it's like one that maybe, you know, in a few years I'll maybe give it another shot, but like I have no desire to like return to it. Like I couldn't tell you anything that really happened. I think gambling, something with gambling, question mark.
Gambling. They were at a
Maybe?
race. They were at a race one time.
I don't know. Like
$2
I
million.
couldn't tell you anything that really happened. I don't remember anything. Did not pull me in any type of way at all. But like, if I take a step back from all that, it's fine. I'm sure it's like a good movie. Like it's probably well made, but like, yeah, it didn't really do anything for me, like emotionally or anything there. Like I don't remember anything. That's not good.
It's fair.
I really hate the 50s. I'm pretty sure I've said that.
50s and the 80s.
before.
The 50s and the 80s for you are the two worst.
I do hate the 80s, and that's true. I really do also hate the 50s. It's wild because this feels like a movie that's like a one for them kind of situation. But like Kubrick wrote this. So he he has a master plan for this movie that the first half of it, every other scene starts with 4 hours earlier, 20 minutes later, 3 days ago. And you're just like, where am I? When am I? I don't know when I am. What are we doing? Who is, and that's, I like, they drop you into scenes and I don't know who any of these people, like, oh, okay, I guess these two are married. Oh, she's not happy. Okay. She's got like a side piece going on. All right. Cool. Sure. But I don't like, is she bad or does he suck? Like at what point am I in this? You know what I mean? Like, I really struggled with the killing. And so when it got to the supposedly dramatic parts, I had the same response. I was like real sleepy. And I don't know. I'm sure someone will send me a message about how The Killing is the 8th best Kubrick movie, to which I will respond, I'm going to bed. You're blocked now. You're blocked. I'm going to bed. Do your own show. Explain it. Explain why it's the 8th best Kubrick movie, specifically. It's fine. He made it. Like, he made it for like 350,000.
It was his third movie, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was Pure Desire, then something else, and then this. So, Killer's Kiss, I think, came before it.
Cool. Maybe those are better.
Not from what I've heard.
Good, maybe. I don't know for sure.
Fair. Yeah. I guess that's all we got to say on The Killing.
Kind of a weird mood today, guy.
Oh, I am too. Like, I'm telling you, I've been watching a lot of Drag Race, and now I'm talking about classic films, and it's like quite the.
Oh, that's a whiplash right there.
That's a shift. Yeah, that's fair.
Cosmic.
I know. I was watching. I was watching mostly fandom movies before I realized, oh shit, I have to catch up on this now. So yeah, that's fair. Yeah, now into probably the most me prompt for this challenge. A film featuring Ingrid Bergman. I'll go first because Alex went first for. Pardon?
You should do all the films this week. You should introduce every single one of the films this week.
I don't know about that.
I should have done Veronica Lake week, and you should do Ingrid Bergman.
Sure. Well, yeah, you did introduce the Veronica Lake week, so I'll introduce this week. This, yeah, so Ingrid Bergman, obviously one of the most talented actresses of classic Hollywood, or just in general, in my opinion. So it seemed natural to to include her as a challenge, like her movies as a challenge. And I, having seen 20 or so of her movies before this, went back earlier to her Swedish years with A Woman's Face, which was later remade starring Joan Crawford, I believe, remade by George Cukor. This movie is good. I feel like I'm going to be alone here, but I rather enjoyed this one. Ingrid Bergman can make any movie better, and that's exactly what happens here. So this the movie centers around this woman who works with like a gang of thieves or extortionists, and she's got a half burned face because from when she was younger, and so she's rather cynical, doesn't really have the best outlook on life in general. And one night when she's visiting one of the people that she's extorting, the woman's husband comes home, and so she makes it look like a break-in and like she's trying to get out, and she pretends to injure herself, or maybe not pretends, but she injures herself, and the doctor has sympathy for her, decides to help fix her face, to try to help her get a fresh start on life and leave her past behind. And she does, and then people start catching up with her. She becomes a governess for this child who is the heir to this fortune that her whole group of friends wanted to kill, to get someone else from to get the fortune. It's a whole thing. So long story short, she does her best to stop that, and she does, and then her and her love interest from that place end up going separate ways, and she gets a fresh start on life, leaving her checkered past behind. And you know what? Ingrid Bergman is great all the way through this. The makeup in this film is fantastic. I think that doesn't really get I feel like that should be shouted out for this movie. Makeup here is great. Ingrid Bergman is giving a great performance, not like one of her best by any means. It's a pretty high bar though. And, but she's still very good. Makes this movie so much better. Yeah, kept me invested the whole time, just by her performance alone. How about you two?
I don't have much to add because basically my main points are, yeah, she's great. Like, she's definitely the highlight of the movie, and her performance is solid, and the makeup is really great considering, it's from 1938. Like, it's really like well done. But at the same time, it's like, okay, like, oh yeah, she's so hideous, but it's like Ingrid Bergman. It's like, okay, that's like
gonna be a tough sell. That's gonna be a tough sell for the most skilled filmmakers. So.
But the makeup was really, really well done. I was pretty impressed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I honestly wasn't even that impressed with Ingrid Bergman, to be honest. I was sat there. And it's like the first half of the movie, it's like a crime film. They don't get to the plot, like the actual stuff, until the second half of the movie. The first half is like Ingrid Bergman dealing with her face, and you're like, you look fine. You're Ingrid Bergman. You look like Ingrid Bergman, and then like, oh no, something happened over here. Like they picked like a really good effect. It looks like her face is like frozen in like a weird like what the Heath Ledger situation kind of looked like. It looked kind of like that to me.
See that?
Which is really wild how they did it in them doing it in 38. And it's weird how the movie starts with like this like wild extortion gang, and it ends in, hey, do you want to go to Beijing with me? Do you think that would be something you're interested? Like, it's such a weird like, yeah. If at the end of this show I was like, hey, let's go to the Bahamas, like what, where is this coming from? Why are
I would go to the Bahamas.
I wouldn't. I mean, not that I wouldn't, like, I'm sure a vacation together would be lovely, but really, that's where your head's at right now? We just went through a whole ordeal. You want to? All right, sure. I don't know. This is like the most, like, if I don't know if I had seen an average Ingrid Bergman movie, like a movie that I thought was just devastatingly average. But I think this is like it. Or I was particularly impressed by that one effect, and then it went away, and I was like, "Aw, come back here, come back here, ethos, come back here, some meaning, come back." The search for Ingrid Bergman's beauty didn't have to last 30 minutes. Come on, she can learn to love herself. I don't know. Maybe it was just like the kind of movie that I'm used to, that like the Penelope effect, where I'm like, no, eventually she'll deal with the fact that she has a pig nose, and we'll all move on. She'll get James McAvoy, and it'll be fine. They'll both have a great time. No, it was, I got to get rid of this face situation, and then we'll go to the mountains together. Sure, all right. If you say so. 38. Like I said, word movie.
So you say you've never seen like a perfectly just average Ingrid Bergman movie. Who boy, do I have a list of some for you.
No, I will say, like, not that I don't want to, but like I hadn't before. And honestly, I think another one's coming. Like, I didn't say I hadn't. I think this is the most one. Like, yeah.
Well, fair enough. Let's get to that most one. I think I know which one you're going with. I think it's the one you chose. So, Alex,
that's per usual. I still think I'm right. I know I'm the one that most often disappoints us.
No, I don't know about that.
It's me. I picked the John Ford movies.
Yeah, that's why I'm mad.
That was in like the honestly, I think I spread mine out, whereas you kept yours really clustered.
Okay, maybe
you really clustered us with those John Ford movies. Yeah. I don't think I'm wrong for doing Jekyll and Hyde. I think it would, like, there's a version of this somewhere. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time explaining Jekyll and Hyde. It's a fairly well-known classic story that usually explores like some kind of like interest in like the duality of man. It usually explores like some kind of like usually like some kind of sexual component to it. There's usually something to it. Like you usually are invested in the fact that this person is split into two beings, and on some level you have interaction with both, and both of them are like fairly exciting. You're into, parts of aspects of both. You think that's interesting. And while the effect that like the production of Jekyll and Hyde is interesting to me, and I can appreciate that, the story and effect are kind of missing. They made a very like Hays Code version of it, which kind of killed what they were able to do with it. And so I think this one has a lot. The Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde has a lot to struggle against, and it just cannot break through. I think the actors are struggling against the material. I think the material is not there for them to work with. They are given these like cool sets and these fine stuff, but I think Spencer Tracy, right?
Yes,
Spencer Tracy doesn't know how to move in the gear, and ultimately that hurts him. So the people that he's acting against can't react, because like they have to pretend to be scared, but when like what's happening isn't scary or interesting or exciting or whatever, they can't. There's no like natural reaction. If you go big against something playing so small, then you look ridiculous. So you have to play like medium bordering on small. So it just doesn't, the material isn't there for them. And I think it really kills any kind of momentum that they could be hoping for. And I don't know. That's sad.
Yeah. It's interesting to think, okay, what did Victor Fleming do after The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind? Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, I mean, with, two very popular films, and then coming to this, you can't make them all good, I guess. I don't know. But this movie is very forgettable for me. Like, I literally don't remember anything that happened. And it was fine. And yeah, Ingrid Bergman was great. But like, that's it. And I agree with everything you just said, Alex. Like, I don't know. I don't have too much to add. I'm sorry. It's a very there's two movies specifically, I would say, for this last chunk, and this is one of them that I just I don't remember much of anything. Like, I would say that this is a more average film than the last. I was at least a little bit more engaged in A Woman's Face for me personally. But yeah.
That's totally fair. And yeah, I feel pretty much the same way about this movie. It's one of, if not the most forgettable of Ingrid Bergman's movies that I've seen. I think I remember like one scene, and that's it. It's nothing special. Of all the adaptations that have come from Robert Louis Stevenson's story, this one is just it just kind of goes through the motions of it, and it kind of just exists. There's nothing really special about it other than the fact that it has Spencer Tracy in the lead role, but it wastes him in the lead role. And Ingrid Bergman is trying her best to make every scene she's in better, and she's succeeding to some extent. That's why it's a 3-star movie, not a 2.5 or 2, but still. This movie is fine. Bergman is the best part of it. If you want a great version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, go listen to the musical soundtrack with Linda Eder as the basically Ingrid Bergman character. She's great. Best part of that musical, in my opinion. But yeah, this movie's fine. We can move on.
Spellbound. Okay,
Yeah.
so this was probably my second favorite after Night of the Hunter for this kind of batch of movies at the end here. And I kind of can see this maybe going up on rewatches because this was a lot of fun. This is like typical Hitchcock, plot. We have a psychiatrist, and she's in love with her patient, basically, and potentially he murdered somebody, and he has amnesia, and we got to figure out what's going on. So there's like good mystery going on. There's murder. There's love. It's such a Hitchcock kind of situation here, and I'm living for it. I've come to realize that I feel like Hitchcock, people more recognize him for the spooky thriller kind of stuff, but he's like a romantic. He's a romantic fellow, and I love that. And yeah, just some random little things that I really loved about this movie. The dream sequences are really awesome, and it's really cool that they got Salvador Dali to assist with that. That's so cool. And you can definitely see that surrealism aspect of it with kind of how it's shot. I will say something that cracked me up is the skiing scene. It's so bad. It's just that fake background. But I loved it. There's something about it that's very, I don't know. Sometimes when movies are old and it does look a little silly, there's just this charm about it, and I feel like Spellbound really does have really good charm, and I love the melodrama of it all too. So yeah, this was a great time. I thought both leads were great, and yeah, it's the ultimate let me fix him movie. And it's just great. What did you guys think?
Yeah, this is up there for in terms of Hitchcock for me. It's arguably my favorite. It goes back and forth between a couple of them, but this is this is one of my 1 or 2 or 3 favorite Hitchcock films. Ingrid Bergman is fantastic in this, as is Gregory Peck. But it's the I was about to say the skiing scenes. It's the dream sequences in this movie that stand out in my memory. They're so creative, and just how they were able to do that. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's very thrilling. There's some really really good performances here. I mean, obviously, yes, Ingrid Bergman, but for some reason, this wasn't the movie she was nominated for in 45, because The Bells of St. Mary's was that year, and she's good in that one, just not great. But that's beside the point. Yeah, this movie's fantastic. I love it to death. I did not get a chance to rewatch it, unfortunately, but I hope to soon, because it's actually it's creeping up towards my favorites list. It's really good.
Welcome back, Mr. Peck. We sorely missed you. The show became about Cary Grant for a while there, and I think that's partially my fault. But we do love us a Gregory Peck here as well. Well, I think like more than holds his own with those scenes in Ingrid Bergman. So they're for the time they're like really intense scenes, and they get into some really heavy stuff. And he has to do this like really like confused, sweaty performance that really relies a lot on just face, just really facial acting. And I think he like really knocked it out of the park. Ingrid Bergman was fine, I guess. No, she is fantastic in it. And I'm glad we got those skiing scenes to inspire all those James Bond movies. Really, really glad we did that.
Yeah. Also, if you want a really fun Ingrid Bergman movie that happens to co-star Cary Grant, watch Indiscreet, directed by Stanley Donen.
You told me to watch it. I'm not going to do it, Jack.
Very fun movie. Well, too bad, I guess. Too bad for me. It's very fun. It has maybe my favorite line reading from Ingrid Bergman ever. Great movie. That we're halfway through this episode, so we'll move on to the next challenge, the second to last challenge. Twice Told Tales, or that's not whatever. Alex, tell us Twice Told Tales, movie from 1963.
Welcome back, Mr. Price. So good to see you again. Twice Told Tales. It is a 3-segment anthology film. Each segment gets 30-40 minutes or so, where Vincent Price stars in pretty much every single one. The segments appear to be completely unrelated. They just had 3 short stories, and they were like, what if we just stitch these boys together? One is about a doctor who has alchemied, scienced, I don't know, man, his daughter to be poisonous so that no one could ever touch and harm her. And of course, some guy like Romeo and Juliet's her. And so that. The second one is about a sort of fountain of youth kind of situation that these 2 guys find. One guy finds the water and is like, yo, this water has preserved my dead wife. That's weird. Let's see if it will bring her back if we put some in her face. They do that, and she comes back, and as it turns out, something fishy's going on. And the third segment is about a safe somewhere hidden on an estate that Vincent Price is trying to get to. They are very fun segments for the material that they had for it. Like, for the segments that take place in an estate, for this, they all take place in these like estates or like a cool, fancy houses. There's a lot of like fun production design to it. And I think they knew what kind of movie they were making because they didn't bother trying to cram anything else in there. They said, we have 40, 35, 40 minutes of material for this segment. And they stopped there. They did not try to make this a full-length movie. They did not try to add anything other than was needed. They were like, we have exactly this material. We are moving on. Mr. Price, get to makeup. We've got other stuff we got to do. And in that sense, I actually kind of respect. I know that this is like the me pick, but I think on that level, if that's something that you're interested in, just like random fun little, they're not scary, but like still horror stories like that, like that like kind of goosebumpsy or scary stories to tell, like in the dark, like that kind of situation. The stuff that is supposed to just give you a slight chill. That stuff's fine. And I think in like small doses, which is exactly what they give you, you can enjoy Twice Told Tales.
Yeah. Much like Ingrid Bergman and her movies, Vincent Price makes every movie he's in that much better. Vincent Price is the best part of every single one of the segments. I think he's the only actor that appears in two, if not all three. Yeah, he's in all three, but like I don't think any of the other actors repeat. He's the best part of all of this. My favorite one is the first one with the Fountain of Youth. They just randomly find it like in a crack of that formed in this guy's house, basically, and it's just like, sure, okay, yeah, that might as well happen. It's a lot of fun. I didn't hate my time watching it by any means, but like they knew exactly what they had when they were making it, and they didn't try to do anything more with it. And you know what? Respect. But like it's not the greatest of movies, but I had a good time watching it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be honest. This is when my mindset was in a very bad place, so I don't remember much of anything. I literally just remember Vincent Price being Vincent Price, and him elevating the material. The production design was great, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, I think there was some fun like editing choices that I enjoyed. I definitely want to re-watch this at some point. Maybe like in September, October, spooky season. Because I for me personally, I think I wasn't really in the mindset for Twice Told Tales when I watched it, so I don't really remember it.
Totally. We'll move right along to Melissa's pick. Melissa, tell us about The Silence, or not Silence, Winter Light. That's the one.
Yeah, Winter Light. So this was, I feel like, something I was connecting with a little bit more with my mindset. So I really enjoyed this movie. Simply, it's kind of about this priest who's kind of examining his relationship with his faith. I don't know why, but like this very much gave me like Fleabag, but from the priest's perspective. And like Bergman style. So I don't know. I thought the performances were great, and I kind of like you were talking about earlier, Alex, with Night of the Hunter, when like things from your childhood in the bad, like shown in a bad way. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what was happening here for me, because I was raised Catholic. I'm no longer Catholic, but I don't know. I do kind of enjoy movies like this that are kind of maybe questioning faith. And I know Holtzman got a little upset and was like, "Hey, have you heard about this film called God Is Not Dead?" And I was like, "Eye roll. God is dead." But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I could see this possibly going up on a rewatch too. What did you guys think of Winterlight?
Because Jack, I think you're gonna connect far more to Winterlight than I on any kind of situation. I never would connect to this.
Go ahead.
I guess I could have. I think I've been very honest about the fact that Ingmar Bergman is not my kind of storyteller. I don't connect. I don't object to the things that Ingmar Bergman chooses to talk about. I object to the lens and how it makes me feel. Not that I always need to feel happy, not that I even necessarily always want to be, or that I am. But I don't need someone making it worse. And I think on that level, this is never going to work for me. Exploration of Christianity is fine. I've watched a ton of movies like that, and I really appreciate them. But this is just, I don't know. It's like it feels like someone taking a baseball bat to a piñata, but you're related to the piñata, and you're like, shit. Oh, God. And like
analogy.
Even just sitting there, not even just watching it, when I knew I had to watch it, I was like dreading it. And then I watched it and I was like, yeah, I guess. Yeah, sure. I don't like the way Ingmar Bergman movies make me feel. And that is it.
Totally fair. I'm a strange person in the sense that I like feeling bad watching movies, I guess. Well, if you just look at some movies I've seen multiple times, that's kind of the impression you'll get. And I think that's a fair assessment. This movie really hit for me. Yeah, I'm trying to I was about to pull up my review so that I could remember the guy's name. Gunnar Bjornstrand. I don't know if I said his name correctly. He plays the priest in this. He's John's in The Seventh Seal. That guy. He's fantastic in this. It's a very quiet, understated performance, but those tend to really hit with me, and it hit again this time around. 80-minute movie flew. It didn't not necessarily flew by, but it didn't feel like it was dragging on. I am the opposite of Alex in the sense that I do quite not necessarily enjoy, but I do like Ingmar Bergman's style. Like in the like, I like the lens that his movies are viewed through, like that he presents these movies through. It just clicks with me. A lot of the things that he's going for just click with me. I had this was I watched this movie. I finished it at midnight. I went to bed, or I got up and I was just sitting there for like 20 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I guess I should probably go to bed now. I have another Ingmar Bergman movie to watch in the morning, which we'll get to next. So yeah, this movie, it hit. I hope to watch it again for a podcast that I started recently about movies 90 minutes or less. Plug. Yeah, it's I really I do think this is a fantastic movie. Persona, Seventh Seal, Winterlight, in my opinion, are the three best movies out of the 8 that I've seen from him. This really hit with me. Gorgeous cinematography, some really good editing, and yeah, also I just forgot his name. The I can't remember his name now. Max von Sydow. Yep. Shows up for like 2 scenes, doesn't do much, but he kills it, and devastating performance. Once again, Great movie, top tier Bergman in my opinion. Let's move on to the next one, which of the 8 Bergman movies I've seen, this one ranks number 8. Not to say I didn't enjoy it or didn't like it. I did, but in comparison to the others I mentioned, plus like Autumn Sonata, Brink of Life, Cries and Whispers, all those ones, this just didn't hit as hard for me. It's about this family, this group of 3 people traveling through some unnamed European country on the brink of war, and just kind of their lives going through in this little tiny window of their lives. Some really strong performances, some really stunning cinematography. I think this was the final movie in his Faith trilogy that was Through Glass Darkly, Winterlight, and then this. I think, but I don't know.
I don't remember.
Right.
But that sounds right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This movie, it worked for me. Not in the level that others did, but it's very well shot, well edited, and the performances are all outstanding. I don't really have anything else too much to add without sounding like I'm repeating myself with the other Bergman movies we've covered. He's an outstanding filmmaker, definitely becoming a favorite of mine, and I hope to see more of his movies.
Yeah, I'm more with Jack in regards to kind of connecting with Bergman movies. But this one did not work for me at all, which is weird because usually, like kind of Alex was saying, he doesn't like the way he feels, which maybe I agree with that too. Like I don't necessarily like all the feelings it brings up, but I kind of like examining those feelings. That's kind of why I like movies. I like being in the uncomfortable state sometimes, not like all the time, but like I do enjoy a film that kind of stirs up that energy in me. But this movie just didn't really stir up anything for me, and that's like the biggest problem to me with a movie. If I don't get like any kind of reaction, good or positive, whatever, it's just in the middle. That's like the worst thing I feel like you can do with a movie. So this one like is definitely like the worst Bergman movie I've seen so far of his, because like I could not emotionally connect with any of these characters really, not even the little boy, maybe a little bit, but like I don't know, just none of this really worked for me. I'm just like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. Maybe I'll give it another shot eventually because I do really enjoy his style of filmmaking and storytelling, but I don't know. This one did not work. So I'm very nervous and curious to know what Alex thinks about this one.
I had a thought a second ago that I realized why I don't really connect with Bergman movies and I think it's because I don't have the existentialist gene. I don't have that. And that seems to be a real hang up of Bergman. And I just don't I don't have that. And I think that's why I really liked Funny Death in Seventh Seal. Because he would just show up and be like, no, I can't die right now. I have a show tomorrow. And he's like, oh, it's been canceled because of a death. And then he just like sawed off the thing. And that to me, like that's how, maybe it's just growing up and watching shows like Billy and Mandy and Family Guy, where death is this like comedic character. It's in things like The Silence, where it's this like, the impendingness of it. Oh my god, it's coming. Oh, what are we gonna do? To me, it's just like you're worried a lot about something that I don't necessarily think you should be. And not, every people can feel how they want to about, whatever. That's not my place to decide. But like, as someone that did have to sit through Persona and Brink of Life and and The Killing and excuse me, not in The Silence I meant, and all these movies, I think like if you're not into that particular, if you're not in that particular mindset, you're gonna have a really hard time connecting. And that's probably why I gravitate to more things like Persona, which play more to my fears. And I, I I don't really have anything to say about The Silence. Like, fine. Remember some of it. But I think the overall point is probably still true of it, because there's this character that's like on the brink that I felt the sympathy, but I did not necessarily feel that it was like, oh my god, let me be here for all of this. I felt like I could go home. I could go for a sandwich. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that.
Exactly.
That is valid. So with that, we'll get into the final challenge of the challenge of the View 52 challenge for this year. A film nominated at the 42nd Academy Awards, so movies released in 1969. Ending the classic era of Hollywood, we've got all three of us picked the same movie, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and it's a good thing that Alex talked me out of switching movies, because I would not have had time to watch.
Would have made the show longer.
It would have made it so longer, and it would have felt a lot less fitting of an ending, just because all three of us picked the same movie to end with. But you know what? We did it. We made it. So who wants to introduce this movie?
I kind of think you should, as you're the host of this show. I feel
That's
like
And I have a feeling you're probably gonna be the most passionate about this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
And
So I like westerns. I like westerns a lot, and this movie is everything I love about the western genre of film. It's got a really it's got two fantastic central performances from Redford and Newman. Some outstanding direction from George Roy Hill. I messaged one of the group chats I'm in. I can't remember which one. Like 5 minutes into the movie, the transition between the opening scene with the sepia tone kind of filter onto them riding their horses out in the wilderness as it transitions into color. It's perfect. There's some really great shots in this movie. There's some really great editing choices. I think the writing in this movie is outstanding. Basically, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, they're two members of this outlaw gang, the Hole in the Wall gang. Stupid name for a gang, but it's what can you do? Basically they rob this train, and then they go back to rob the same train on its way back, and shit goes sideways. A bunch of guards show up, like bounty hunters show up to kill them, and they're on the run for the rest of the movie. They eventually flee to Bolivia and start robbing banks there with Sundance's girlfriend, I think, played by Catherine Ross. I believe her name is, from The Graduate, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. I blanked on that movie's name for a second, and that's weird. But she's fantastic in her smaller role, but she's very good. And eventually the bounty hunters catch up with them, so they try to go straight. They try to live honestly, and that doesn't exactly work out, so they decide to go back to the States. And Catherine Ross's character, she goes back before them, and as they're preparing to go back, they're having one more meal before they catch their train, and someone recognizes them as the bandits that have been robbing all of the banks in Bolivia. And shit goes sideways again. They start getting shot at by the police. The Bolivian army comes and they make their final stand and go out in the blaze of glory. Also, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head was written for this movie and won the Oscar for Best Original Song, which I think is a pretty cool tidbit. Yeah, this movie just works for me. It's everything I love about Westerns in one neat little package. Also, something I realized is, my favorite game is Red Dead Redemption 2. It owes quite a bit to this movie. And you know what? It kind of makes sense that I loved it as much as I do. And it got me playing Red Dead Redemption 2 as soon as the credits rolled before hopping on call to do this show. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, this movie was fine. I do really appreciate, like, I feel like from a visual level, I really liked this movie. Like, I thought it was really well shot. I liked a lot of like the artistic choices of like the editing, and I liked the music throughout. That was like one of the only things I knew going into it was the raindrops keep falling on my head. That's like all I kind of knew about the movie. I was like, I know it's associated with this movie, and that's about it. But no, I thought like just visually and like creatively there, like I liked a lot of the choices there, and I thought that was really well done. But like for me, the story is just like so forgettable, and like I was not emotionally invested in it like at any point. I mean, I thought the performances were good, and it was a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be. Like it definitely had some funny moments, but I don't know. I just thought it was fine. So it was a little bit of a plateau to end on for me personally, but I mean, I'm glad saw it because it's definitely one of those like classic films, and I've heard about it like I feel like my whole life in some way. But I'd never seen it. I had a point. Oh, yeah, Westerns and me, we just like don't really work. From all the Westerns I've ever seen, I only like really love two, and that would be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and Bone Tomahawk. Those are the only two Western movies I actually like love. Everything else has been fine to I hate it.
Fair. That is fair. It's not your genre, and I totally get that.
Yeah, but I'll keep trying. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's just not really my thing.
No, totally fair.
I won't keep trying. I absolutely won't. This will be the last Western I see for a very long time, unless you count like Logan.
Why do I keep drinking right before
okay.
Like it's not gonna happen.
I guess it's The Harder They Fall. Does that count as a Western?
Yes.
Okay, that movie's really good too. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
I had a kind of a problem with this movie, and I thought that Butch and Sundance were too similar as characters. The character that I really loved is Etta Place, played by the fantastic Catherine Ross.
Yes.
I found her character to be really interesting, and she's not in the movie as much as I wanted her to be, but like as this like sanctioned throuple. I don't know. I thought that was really interesting for the 60s. For, you know, it was, and it's not just it's the 60s, but it's the Western as well, but she's in this like throuple, and but both of the guys are like, I know him from work. You know what I mean? Like it's this whole situation. And I thought the scene where they all run away together, where she just flat out tells them, "Hey, I love both of you, but I'm not watching you die. I can't, like, emotionally, I cannot handle that." I thought what a lovely, honest way to go about that. And I'll say like Paul Newman and Robert Redford are like great actors. They get, they put him up on ledges and they're like, we gotta jump. And he's like, no, I'm not. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. No, absolutely not. Well, it's jump or fall. All right, we'll jump. Like that, you know, they have like really good chemistry. It was really weird to see baby Sam Elliott.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Baby Sam Elliott is one of the card players.
Oh my goodness.
That's how he and Catherine Ross met, and now they're married. Yeah, that's true. So, I liked it, but I think my favorite character wasn't in all of it, and it focused on two characters that were the same character actually. So I think they could have been a little bit more. I understand this is like a kind of telling of a real story, you know, creative license and all that. But like, I just think like, oh, this could have, you could clean this up a little bit, and it would be cool too. The freeze, the ending, I like, oh, all-timer ending for me though. I'll say that all-timer ending for me.
Yeah, the ending is phenomenal, and the final shot, freeze frame, fades into the sepia tone again. Just,
I'll be honest, if we can bring one ending back, let's bring back the freeze frame. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
And actually, I'll say this for the ending. That's the kind of mortality nonchalantness that I actually kind of appreciated. It's like, okay, there's no way out. Yeet it is. Yeehaw it is. All right, cool. I don't know. Like for me, that's much more entertaining. For me, that's much more cinematic. That, you know, clearly it's more cinematic, but like to me, that's more like how I would want to approach it. That's not to say how I will approach it. I could very easily have a breakdown. But I think for me, it is the ideal way to handle it. And so for me, it's like it touches the good nerve. Whereas other movies are like, no, bad nerve. This is the bad one. Yeah, Butch Cassidy, not the movie that I think I wanted it to be. Not the movie that I expected it to be. But ultimately, like, it is a movie with like really heavy positives. I hear a cat purring. It's amazing.
Yeah, Buttercup's going off right now.
That is adorable, and I love it. Yeah, that concludes this year's challenge. It has been a journey. It's had its highs and its lows. Very glad to more. The lows were mostly brought to us by one John Ford. But you know what?
You said it, not me. You said it, not me. I was gonna say Alice in Wonderland.
Just the majority opinion on this panel. That's probably it. But
the majority might have said Alice in Wonderland.
I don't know if I can call that a low. That is an anomaly, my friend. Alice in Nightmare 1933. I don't even know if I watched that movie. It's a
yeah.
No, that now I have Mock Turtle in my head and I want it. So yeah, there were some really good movies we watched. Honestly, for me, like if I had to pick like a favorite or anything like that, or like one of my favorites from this challenge that we did, a couple up there would be Seven Samurai, Singing in the Rain. There's a few big ones up there. It was 2001: A Space Odyssey was huge. Major blind spot. How about you all? What are some of your favorites from this challenge that we covered?
Yeah, I'm taking a peek because I'm like, what did we watch this year?
I think for original stuff, I still think about What a Way to Go.
Fair.
Yeah,
Near weekly. I still think about that a lot.
Yes.
I think about I guess no more so than like the movies. I think about like like silly little scenes. Like I think about How to Murder Your Wife. I think about the 7-Year Itch. I think about
The whole beginning debate between the devil and the angel in the cabin in the sky.
I do. You know what? If there's a movie that I talk about a lot, I
Mhm.
talk a lot about Cabin in the Sky. I talk about a lot
Underrated.
about
Underrated movie that we covered.
Yeah.
Stairway to Heaven. What's that movie called?
Yeah. Matter of Life and Death.
Matter of Life and Death. Is it also
It's
called
also
Stairway
called
to Heaven?
Stairway
Okay.
to Heaven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A Matter of Life and Death. I think a lot about like
Mhm.
the roses in that movie. I think a lot about like the pastel background in that movie, the black and white. I think a lot, it was really cool, some of the production stuff they were able to do so far back.
Yeah. Also, Cleo from 5 to 7 is one that I think of quite often for movies that we covered. I love a good plotless movie. Cleo from 5 to 7, top tier. Also, Persona and The Seventh Seal.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm. This challenge taught me that I love Ingmar Bergman's movies. So thankful for that.
Yeah, I mean the whole Shirley MacLaine week was amazing. And yeah, I think about What a Way to Go like a lot. That is definitely up there as like one of my favorites. I loved Belle de Jour. That's definitely one I think about a lot as well. And Mansion in Uniform, like those were some highlights for me for sure. In 8.5, that was a big one too because I really like Fellini. Like Fellini and Bergman are like two of my favorite like classic kind of film directors for sure.
Oh, that's totally fair. Powell and Pressburger are also up there for me. The Red Shoes, I could honestly, I said it before and I'll say it again. The whole second half of that movie could have been that first performance of the Red Shoes, and I would not have complained one bit. That was an enthralling scene. Definitely going to be on a list of my favorite scenes if I ever do another one of those. Incredible shit. Yeah, no, this was good. I'm very, very glad that we did this. I've been wanting to expand my classic film repertoire for a while, and this was a very good way to do it. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Alex, for doing this. It was a really fun show, and I'm very excited. I'm glad I got to. Alex and I have been friends for a while. I'm glad I got to know Melissa. Glad I can call her a friend. Very excited to keep watching movies and to maybe we'll do another show down the road. We'll see, but not next year not this year for View 52. No, we're not doing that. Again. It was that was a lot of work. A lot of movies. But
thank you for asking me to do it because I was a straight up stranger. So thank you.
No,
it was a lot of fun.
Alex and I were on call and we're like, who likes classic movies? And Alex is like, I think Melissa does. We could ask her. Cool.
Shot in the dark.
Well,
yeah, and hey, it worked out. Yeah, so this next challenge is international films. List is up on Letterboxd. Y'all can find it pinned to my profile. Thank you to everyone who did the challenge this year, and I can't wait to do it again next year without the show this time, though. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.
Well, nobody's perfect.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.